Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 135. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Book Insight Friday, and it's the end of the Private Investigator series. So, we're talking about part 5 and what went into the process of writing this last book of the series. And last book of the series has Gary and Joe tackling a serious issue that goes on in police departments in America, and it's alcoholism. And while the stresses of the job can get to a lot of people, drinking alcohol is surely an escape for a lot of police officers on the force, and it's come to a head now. And this story is another topic that was necessary for me to write. And the main character, Sherry, is looking for justice after suffering at the hands of her abusive boyfriend, who is a police officer named Nate. And I definitely researched cases where this has happened numerous times, and police officers don't get prison time. The badge is what's keeping them from having to be held accountable for their actions, as always. And it's a serious issue, and I know this is something that really isn't talked about enough. And we only hear the stories of when the police officer loses their mind and kills the girlfriend, right? Or the wife. And protection is necessary for women who suffer at the hands of abusive boyfriends and husbands, especially ones that are police officers who cannot handle their liquor or their drugs. And my mindset was to write this story and make people uncomfortable because, well, that's what I do. I write books that make people uncomfortable. And if I make you uncomfortable and I make you think, I have done my job. Right. The reality is that this can happen to anyone, and if these stories don't get written, well, who will know about the abuse of certain police officers on the force? And this is not to say this is all police officers, but it's a small percentage. And even that small percentage has an impact on society. And how do they get to protect other people in the world when they can't even protect themselves from their violent acts? And pretty much to end this story and end the series the way I did, I felt good writing this story. And, having private investigators doing this kind of work, well, it probably should be required in all cases that I wrote about. And there's a reason why. Because when those small percentage of police officers create problems and commit heinous crimes and acts, what happens is the code blue of silence comes in, and they get protected, and they don't get held accountable, and they aren't arrested, and they aren't given prison time or anything like that. So while I've written Code Blue and it talks about racism and things of that nature, we also have to talk about the other issues that are going on in police departments across the nation and across the world. And, writing this book was important to me, as always. Every book is important to me. Every book has a purpose and a reason, as I always say. And it was uncomfortable to write. And sometimes you get immersed into these characters, and it does happen with me. And I'm a big component of stepping out of your shoes and into other people's. And that's what I constantly and continually do in the majority of my books. I think the only two books that I don't utilize a character is America Under Mind Control and America Country Divided. I think those were just, books that I needed to address what's going on in the world in the current state of where it is. But these book series that I create, such as Cold Blue and The Private Investigator, Kids with Guns, The World We Live In, Struggles and Growth of a Man, A Woman's Worth, A Man's Plight, which is coming pretty soon, as you listen to this. And even the standalone books, such as The Man Who Lost His Soul, The World in Ruins, and plenty of other books that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But I create these characters and I write about them, and I want you to feel these characters. I want you to understand these characters. I want you to emote a little bit. I want you to get angry. I want you to get upset at these social issues that continue to plague this world and continue to plague society. I don't want you to be happy at the end of a lot of these books. I don't. That's not the point. Because in what world do we live in where there are happily ever afters and happy endings all the time? That's for the movies. That's for the fictional scripts that are written. And while these stories are fictional, they are based off of real life. And I see these cases and read about them, and I see them on my TV screens. They're turned into shows and documentaries. But like I said in last week's Book Insight Friday, what if people just don't watch TV? What if they'd rather just read? What if they'd rather just go out into the world and, do their part and impact others? And that's where my books come in. But man, is it fulfilling to write, these stories. And man, is it fulfilling to have written this Private Investigator series. It felt good. It felt good to go in a different direction with Gary and to have him, go into another field and things like that. I'm doing things, I'm writing book series that have never been written before. I'm writing it from a perspective that hasn't been done. I'm writing it in a format that hasn't been done. But that's me carving my own path. And Sherry is one of so many women who have dealt with this, are dealing with this currently. And what are we doing about it? And this is not just on the police force. This happens in other fields and industries. It does. Alcoholism is a huge issue in this country. Do we talk about it enough? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Me? A couple of articles on these major newspapers. But maybe I haven't immersed myself into other platforms to really see what's going on and what discussions are happening. And I'll get to do that. What I want you guys to understand is Sherry is just, she can't be just another woman. She can't be just a face of what is going on, around us. Are we paying attention to what other people's issues are and their plights and what they're dealing with and what they're going through? I mean, look, if you're going through certain things in your life, of course, get yourself good, get yourself right. But if you're in a good mental headspace and you're good spiritually, why can't we do our part in helping others? That's the question that I ask myself and I ask others. So I did end the series with a bang because, well, that's just what I do as a writer. Had to tackle something that, was important to me, and hopefully it will be important to anyone who comes across that book and anyone who continues to, go down the journey of trying to find different social issues to read about. And it's fun for me. And of course, it's a challenge. And it's a challenge that I take on and accept. And I continue to evolve and grow and get people to see many different perspectives of people and their lives and what they deal with and what they go through, because in reality, we're all going through something. It's just, are we willing to immerse ourselves and pay attention to what other people are going through? We can't walk around with our heads down and buried in our phones and watching 30-minute blocks of news and then just going on about our lives and expecting other people to solve those problems. It's not reality anymore. The world needs healing, the world needs fixing, but guess what? Social media ain't gonna do it no more. We gotta stop that. The stories get told, you see them, but what are we doing about it? I know I gotta do more. Can't be just the books, can't be just the podcast, can't be, all the content that I create and post on social media. I've got to do more myself. And I know I'll get to that place where I'm going to open myself up to those opportunities. But for now, I'm going to write these stories. And I'm going to hope that they reach the people that they need to. And that's why I write the content that I do, to change the world. So, that's my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening. As always, have a good weekend, everyone. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.